Zac Selmon grew up in Norman, the son of a Sooner legend, and became a noted athletic administrator primarily at OU. He's now the Mississippi State athletic director in these wild times of college football, and he joins us today on the Berry Tramel Show. But before we get to Zac, we want to thank our sponsors: Next Generation Roofing, Weedman Lawn Service, FireLakeJobs.com, Oklahoma's Ford Dealers, Oklahoma's 988 Helpline, and Two Fellas Moving. I like helping people move. It's one of my few talents, but I'm the oddball. And that's where Two Fellas Moving comes in. Two Fellas offers free, no-strings quotes for your move. With over 20 years experience, they've pretty much moved it all, and their services don't end at moving. Need to do some more remodeling or spring cleaning? They have you covered with dumpster rentals and junk haul services. Remember, quotes are free and there are no strings attached. If you're moving in Oklahoma, make sure to call the fellas. Visit twofellas.com for your free quote today. And we welcome in Zac Selmon from Starkville, Mississippi. Zac, welcome to the show, and what a week it's been. Aside from all the things happening in college athletics, your dad, Dupree, announced as the latest inductee into the College Football Hall of Fame. Congrats to you, congrats to him, to the entire Selmon family.
Oh, great to see you this morning, Barry. And yeah, it's been a great week, and clearly so excited for my dad and my uncles Lucius and Uncle Leroy. I know how excited Leroy would have been for this. And, you know, I think talking with my dad, he understands it's such a big moment for him personally, but he knows that you can't do this alone. And I think this week has brought up so many emotions and feelings for him of all of his teammates. So it's been fun for me just to be a sponge on the wall and listen to him reminisce on the good times.
Well, that's fantastic. And of course, you've been in Starkville now, I don't know, 6-7 months maybe, a little bit longer. Yeah, a little bit longer. How's life in Mississippi? How's the adjustment to being an SEC athletic director?
It's been great. You know, anytime you just abruptly move your family, it's one thing if it's just an individual, but you know, bringing Rachel and we got two daughters, Shane and Riley. You're always concerned about friends and school, but they've been fantastic. Great community here that loves their Mississippi State Bulldogs. We've got great leadership with our president. So there's nothing more I could ask for. We've had a great time, and yet I think it'll be a year at the end of this month. But it seems like we've been here a lot longer just because there's full days all the time, but it's fun. And I'm really enjoying, got great colleagues in the SEC. So it's been a really good experience for our family.
Well, let's get to maybe the most amazing thing I've heard about the Zac Selmon experience. You had something happen to you that I've literally never heard of in the athletic director world. You hired Jeff Lebby as the football coach, and the fans were very excited so much that at some point they put you on their shoulders and paraded you around. Tell us how that happened. Tell us the circumstances that even the athletic director gets the hero's welcome.
Yeah, I had no clue that was going to happen, but Barry, it's one of those deals when you get lifted up. One, you feel really small, like, man, how can I get swept up that easy? And two, I was like, hey, put me down. Like, I didn't know, but it just our fan base and our student athletes, a lot of our football team was there that night when we arrived at the airport. They were excited. You know, I think for our student athletes here, they've been through a lot of change over the last handful of years with the passing of Coach Leach, and then Coach Arnett came in. Now with Coach Lebby. So I think I'm most excited about some consistency and continuity for our student athletes to settle. But it was a special moment because our fan base was excited and really excited about what Coach Lebby's done so far and what he'll do here in the future.
Let's take us back to that decision to hire Jeff Lebby. Of course, you interacted with Jeff for a good number of about a year. As when he was the OU offensive coordinator, you were on staff at OU. What about Jeff Lebby attracted you to think he's the next guy for Mississippi State?
Yeah, I think it first started with just really studying, kind of been having some situational awareness here where we've had success. and you never make decisions lightly, specifically in this role. And so when we went through our process, talked to a variety of candidates, but really sat and said, okay, with the seat that we're sitting in at Mississippi State, how can we be successful? And I was a religion major in undergrad, and you talk about BC and AD. Since I've got at Mississippi State, a lot of times we talk about the pre-DAC years and post-DAC. And so you look at the stats, how we were able to be successful in that era. With our players that we have, the recruiting. So took all these elements into it from the empirical side and looked at what's the profile for us to be get successful. I was so fortunate to be there at Oklahoma, and Joe Castiglione let me kind of see how he operated his searches and build out his profiles. And the same with Bubba Cunningham in North Carolina. So used some of the same principles and landed on a profile that we were looking for. And that's just because of, again, the situational awareness of where we're at in the league. Also taking into consideration the need for elite quarterback play, the need for really good offensive statistics for us here. So all of those things, Coach Lebby fit that profile. It wasn't one of the things that, I knew that Coach Lebby was the right fit right away. But it was, as we went through the process, got more and more confident that Coach Lebby was the right fit for us.
Was some of that research centered on Dan Mullen's success? He was offensive coordinator at Florida. Mississippi State hired him away. He had an excellent run, so much so that Florida came calling back after him. Was that sort of the model that you were looking at?
Yeah, clearly looked at some of the stats of Coach Mullen when he was the OC. Then to when he was a head coach here, looked at how he was able to be successful. I think that was definitely some of the metrics we looked at for sure.
You're in a difficult environment in which to win, Zach. I mean, you're right there between LSU and Alabama and Georgia and some of the most storied programs in America. When I look at this part of the country, and you know this well, I mean, we've got schools in this part of the country that's faced some of those issues, and we've seen people like Oklahoma State and Kansas State really build up their programs into really good brands. Iowa State is sort of on that road itself now. Is that what sort of the model is for Mississippi State, that you can be successful even though you're in this arena with all these heavyweights?
Sure, absolutely. And I think for us, we're in a really fertile recruiting area, and there's every SEC program is coming into the state of Mississippi to try to get recruits to come out. And so for us, I think first and foremost, we've got to tell our story better at Mississippi State. And that's not in a braggadocious way, but we've got great people. We've got a fantastic education. We've got a fantastic fan base. We've got a pathway to professional athletics, regardless of what sport you're playing. So I think we've got to do a better job of telling our story. For me, the perception that I had personally of Starkville, Mississippi, because I had never stepped foot here before we accepted this job, is totally different than the reality. Our families loved it. So I think again, from the national perception, we've got to tell our story a little better. And all of that goes down to, we understand we're in the toughest conference in America. Tuscaloosa is an hour away. We got, clearly Oxford, they're playing a lot of really good football at Ole Miss right now. So we got to make sure that we find our identity. And I think there's a niche there for us. And that's kind of the pathway we've been going down of how can we, again, tell our story better, let all of this clearly start with the state of Mississippi, the student athletes or the prospects that we have here, that you can come to Mississippi State, get a great education, and then play against the best. And I think from a resource perspective, we've got the resources to be successful. We don't have all of the resources per se of an Alabama, Georgia, some of those. So I think we've got to find what our niche is to be successful. I know we're on the right path to do that.
Let's go back a little bit, Zach. Of course, you were a highly successful football player on your own right. You got into college athletics. Was this always the long-term goal? Become an athletic director at a Power 5 school, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, whatever it might be?
I don't think it. I guess the first seed of an athletics director probably was getting to spend time with my Uncle Leroy when he was the AD at South Florida. I liked it, but I had no clue exactly what he did. I just knew that when he was going to the office at South Florida, you'd see different athletes come up to him, and I remember the smile that he would put on Leroy's face, and I could see the smile on the student's face. I was like, that's a pretty cool job. And then I was able to get in a volunteer at Oklahoma after undergrad and really liked it. And I think early on in my career, I said, hey, I definitely want to be an AD. And probably 8-9 years ago, I shifted about, I just want to make an impact on other people. And wherever the journey takes me, the journey takes me. So I've always looked at it as just continuing to do the work, continue to try to make an impact. Never said like, hey, I just want to be a Power 5 athletics director. For this, we were in a great spot at Oklahoma, and it was a phone conversation with the president here at Mississippi State, Mark Keenum, and didn't talk anything really about athletics. It was all about, his life mission. He's got a PhD in agricultural economics, and he does a lot of stuff all over the world to really help underprivileged people work on their food insecurities and be self-sustaining. And I just really aligned with that mission. Some of the stuff that my family's done and the work that my mom's done there in Norman, and some of the stuff our family's done in West Africa. So that's a leader worth following. And so for me, it's always been not about a position, but it's about how can you go make an impact on other people. And that's something that we found here at Mississippi State.
Of course, many Oklahomans know your family well, and some of them know the stories about the humanitarian work. How were you shaped growing up in the Dewey and Catherine Selmon family? How did that shape you? I mean, I've known you not all your life, but a good chunk of your life. I met you, I think you were 12 when I met you. I did that story on your three sisters playing basketball together at Norman High, and of course followed your life ever since. How did that shape you growing up in that house on South Berry Road?
Oh, it shaped us, all the way. And it's almost like, I don't know, pottery, if you will. You don't know you're being shaped, but, we're so blessed to, have two loving parents. And, everybody knows most people know the football exploits that my dad and uncles, but, what my mom did as far as, food and shelter for friends. And I remember having birthday parties at the homeless shelter, and that helped shape me so much, and probably shaped me and all of my sisters, that we didn't even know we were being shaped like that at the time. But it's again, as we've gotten older, we're so thankful for the love that our parents gave to us, the value of education that they pushed us to, and then clearly the always putting other people before yourself. I think it's invaluable and something that I know is so deeply ingrained in not only myself, but all three of my older sisters, and now our adopted siblings as well.
You mentioned earlier you'd never even been to Starkville, Mississippi. Been there almost a year now, and getting adjusted. Was the transition for you and your family fairly smooth? Was it smooth for Mississippi State people getting to know you?
Yeah, I think it was smooth for us for sure. Getting so hospitable. We're still living here on campus. We're building a house, but so it's kind of like Groundhog Day. Never leave campus, and it's such a loving community. Rachel's got a great group of friends. Our daughters are great school, so that transition has been really good. And I think on the flip side, with our family loves relationships. We love to have relationships with the community, and so when we got here, we were right in the middle of a lot of sports season. Basketballs were going, baseball season was going on. So we got to meet a lot of people in a short period of time. And I think you do feel that Southern hospitality here. So I think it's been, we've made a lot of changes. There's been a lot of adjustments, but I think that it's been a smooth of a transition. And now we've got a pretty clear path forward of how we want to continue to project Mississippi State athletics forward.
The Selmon name packs a punch throughout college football. Less so in Mississippi than in Oklahoma, of course. But have you found that your last name still can open doors, even in the state of Mississippi?
Yeah, absolutely. I think and not only the name and college football is such a big part of the life in the Southeastern Conference. You realize that, and I think not only the conference schools, but people realize what other great programs, and clearly what Coach Switzer, Coach Fairbanks, and everybody did at University of Oklahoma. I think that translates, and also just relationships. One of the first a couple text messages I got when it got announced about this job. One was from Marcus Dupree, who's from right up the road in
Right.
Philadelphia, Mississippi, and one of the next was from Archie Manning, and Archie's in-laws have a store in Philadelphia, Mississippi called Williams Brothers, and he was like, "Hey, go pick out a pair of boots on me." And so I knew Archie's bank account was better than mine, so I went and got a very nice pair of boots.
That's great. That's great. All right, well, let's get to the news of the day. Everybody in the SEC, everybody headed to the SEC. Got a big dose of news yesterday with Nick Saban's retirement. I know there was much celebration in places like Auburn and Athens and Baton Rouge. Just as as a overseer of Mississippi State athletics, losing a Nick Saban can't be good for the conference. However, it does give a sliver of hope to all these teams, whether you're Oklahoma, Texas, LSU, Georgia, Mississippi State, doesn't matter. It gives you a sliver of hope that, maybe Alabama comes back to earth a little bit from what they've been doing the last 17 years.
Sheesh, what a career that Nick has had. And golly, this kind of sent shockwaves through all of college football. And, for us being so close, you hear that, you're like, no way. And partly because of just, you got to respect the unbelievable job he did, how consistent Coach Saban was there. But yeah, I think now everybody's like, well, what's going to happen? And clearly with rules now, with portals being open when coaches leave, I think now everybody's like, okay, well, how do you project out who's going where and what recruiting element aspects might come? But I think first and foremost, you got to just tip your cap and respect the job that Coach Saban has done. And tell you one thing, that those are some big shoes to fill. So for whoever Alabama gets, that's a weighty job to take. But no, man, what a career Coach Saban has. And anytime you see that level of success for that long, you've got to show respect, because it's unbelievable. It's unbelievably hard to win. And it's unbelievably hard to win and sustain that success. It doesn't matter where you're at.
You're taking over. You took over Mississippi State at a unique time in college athletics. The NIL transformation, the transfer portal, a lot of fear, a lot of people saying, hey, this is going to ruin college athletics. The rich will get richer. The opposite has actually been what we've seen so far, is we've seen more parity in almost every conference, football and basketball. And it's to me, it appears it might be spreading out the talent a little bit, the ability for players to move and market themselves. How do you see Mississippi State fitting into that landscape? Does this give the Bulldogs and a lot of other people a better chance?
I think so, for sure. And that's how we've looked at it here is if you just try to go conspiracy theory or, hey, all these changes coming from all different directions, you'll drive yourself crazy. But for us, it's been, let's control what we can control. And now these are the rules of the game. So let's make sure we're the best at it that we can be. So it's really helped us as far as try to be forward thinking. And one of the first things we did was start, an athlete services division that was really not necessarily a traditional student athlete development, but somewhere a unit. And we hired a gentleman from the University of Arkansas to oversee it for us, to really be almost a professional sports model of, hey, you can come here, these are the services you can have, and then we'll stay with you for life. So really trying to think, okay, where's the future of college sports going, knowing that regardless of the changes, college sports is still awesome. And at the core of what we do, we're still providing educational opportunities. And it may look a little different, no different than online education wasn't a big thing when I was in school. Now there's a lot of institutions that are offering robust online education platforms. So for us, I think it's, okay, we know what the core of what we do is, but now we've got to innovate at such a fast rate that we stay ahead of where the curve is. And I think that's some of the things that we've got an advantage of at Mississippi State, again, also mixed with the recruiting footprint that we're in, to make sure that we get our message, get our brand out early, and make sure that kids know when they come here, we're not just going to have them here for a little bit of time, but we'll commit to them for life, wherever they're trying to go. So I think it gives a lot of schools like Mississippi State a great level playing field in this climate.
We, as we said, OU in Texas, July 1st, join the SEC. How much are you looking forward to having the Sooners in your conference? Is that going to be a strange feeling competing against Oklahoma and all of Joe Castiglione's programs, or you looking forward to it? How do you see the relationship with OU as the Sooners come into the SEC?
Yeah, it's weird for sure. We played softball last year. Coach Gasso brought her team out here, and our women's softball coach is Sam Ricketts, who played softball at Oklahoma.
Right.
And so seeing Coach Gasso, remember gave her a hug during the game. It was just weird because you got those relationships. But it'll be really weird, I think, at first when you've been alongside Joe for so many years to go against him and his programs. I know for football they're playing at Ole Miss next year, so we'll try to connect with him when they're here. But one of the things, Barry, I've never been to a football game in Austin, Texas, and we're playing at Austin this year. So I'm excited to see that. And that's one of the cool things about these venues. They're just electric with the tailgating, with the fan support, the passion, the history of each program. And I've been a college football fan my entire life. So you've got to pay, again, respect of the great players that are at each of our institutions. So I'm really excited about it all. I've got a couple diner spots for Joe when he gets out here. But, and even the SEC spring meetings, it was a little weird. You look around the room and you see Josh Heupel, and clearly you got a relationship with Josh Heupel and Coach Beamer and all these coaches, Mark Stoops, who you're very familiar with. And it's such a small fraternity of people, but it's really cool as a college football fan and a fan of just college sports to be able to see so many great venues.
How do you see SEC football changing with Sooners and Longhorns coming in? It seems like from Mississippi State's standpoint, just two more difficult programs to deal with. However, we've done away with divisions in the SEC. You're no longer in that loaded SEC West. Is that a pretty good trade-off for the Bulldogs?
Yeah, and I think clearly adding two programs like Texas and Oklahoma in all sports makes things tougher. Because they're the elite of the elite. I think with addition of teams and with the strength of all of our schedules, you've got to be okay to have the next game up mentality. And no difference than our basketball win last night. We beat number 5 ranked Tennessee. Rewind a little bit, we lost on the road to an unranked South Carolina team. So you got to almost, they say, like have a defensive backs mentality. You got to forget the last play and get ready to go on to the next one, because it's hard to go undefeated at anything at this level. There's just so much depth as the playoffs are expanding. You've got a lot more games to play. So there's all these different elements of it. You just got to be ready to continue. It's almost like a journey. If you look at it as a journey or a marathon versus a sprint, I think you got a chance. But that also comes with, you've got to be okay, I think, with if you do take a loss early in the year, there's a lot more to play for. And I think that might be an adjustment for some fans, specifically that come from programs that, you're winning 11, 12 games a year.
Of course, this 2024 college football season upcoming is sort of a watershed year. Everything's changing, including the expanded playoff. Feel like the 12-team playoffs got to be good news for Mississippi State.
Yeah. Anytime the bucket gets a little bit bigger, I think it's better for a lot of programs. And for us, we're really excited about it. We've undergone a facilities master plan, and when we're looking at that, we're not looking at it just for, hosting great competitions, in conference. We're looking at it as hosting college football playoff games. And I think that's the mentality that we've shifted here. We feel like we've got all the talent. And it's probably, Barry, my junior year at Wake, we were picked last in the ACC. And we went on to win the ACC. So I think I've always approached it as that's the beautiful thing about sports. At any given day, if you believe in yourself, you have a chance to win. And I'm not saying that you can do that all the time. I think that's unrealistic. But you got to prepare for that. And so we're really excited. We think having an expanded playoff gives us a really good opportunity to get to a playoff and be able to do some really good things, some special things that have never been done here before.
Well, last question about the SEC. 8-game schedule this year to be determined going forward. Where does Mississippi State come down on what kind of schedule model they prefer.
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions about that, and I think for me and for us, in favor of clearly whatever the SEC and Commissioner Sankey has done a great job keeping us in constant communication and constant guidance there. I've personally been in favor of going to a 9-game conference schedule. I think that levels a lot of things out what we're going through with scheduling. But I also think it's good for our fan bases. If we have a expanded playoff, I do think it's good for all of our fans to be able to see a lot of venues, more games, more parity. So really excited about the ongoing discussions, but knowing wherever we end up, it'll be a really good thing that we do for college football.
Last question from me, Zach. When the name Zac Selmon comes up in Oklahoma, everybody smiles, everybody gets excited. People think fondly of you. They also think you'll come back someday. I tell them, he might replace Joe Castiglione, but it might be 20 years from now. Joe C shows no signs of slowing down. What are your thoughts about Oklahoma and your roots here and your affinity for the university where your dad and your uncles made such a name for themselves, where they have a literal statue outside the stadium? What are your thoughts when you think about your roots in Norman, Oklahoma?
I think anybody, you always are very proud of, where you came from. And growing up literally a mile and a half from OU's campus, I remember learning how to drive in the Lloyd Noble parking lot with Kellen Sampson and so many different childhood memories. So you always got that special place in your heart and always got the utmost respect for Joe Harris and so many great people. Joe C clearly is a mentor of mine. And I don't think Joe C is slowing down either. I think what's great for the university is him continue to lead. Again, we've had such a great opportunity to be there and always be thankful for the way that it's prepared us to be at Mississippi State here. I've got too much on my plate to think about dinner most days, so I haven't really thought of anything beyond that. But clearly, growing up there, OU's always got a really special place in my heart.
Well, Zach, we sure appreciate the time. I can tell you, relationship you've afforded me over the years has been a fantastic blessing to me, and getting to know your family the way I have over the decades has just been wonderful. And so I appreciate all that we've been through, and I look forward to the adventures to come. Absolutely, man. Barry, appreciate you. I know how much our family respects you and enjoys you and appreciates your friendship. And thanks for everything you do for all of college sports and sports in general. Hey, thanks a lot. Zac Selmon, Mississippi State Athletic Director. Remember, you can now access us via the Sellout Crowd app. Just go to the App Store and search Sellout Crowd. And if this is your first time hearing or watching the Berry Tramel Show, be sure to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. And if you like what you hear, please read a review. You can read me every day at berrytramel.com, across social media, and on selloutcrowd.com. Talk to you next week.